Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be going over the new season changes, patch 26.9, and I'm going to be talking about the new items and runes. But before I get into that, I want to quickly go over the role quest changes. I just wanted to mention something about role quest. You can look over these changes if you want to, but I just wanted to say that when you make decisions in game, you shouldn't think about role quest that much. Yes, it exists and you should try to stay in your lane, but a good decision is always going to be a good decision regardless of the role quest, if that makes sense. If you can rotate to scuttle, if you can help your jungler, if you can leave lane to kill a guy, you should still do that. Don't worry about your role quest too much, just play the game normally, as if there wasn't a role quest, because role quests will just happen naturally. Just try and stay in your lane when it makes sense to, right? So that was what I wanted to say about role quest really quickly. Just don't worry about it too much. Now, going into Axiomark. Going into items. So Axiomark got a pretty simple nerf. Doesn't matter that much. Don't really need to talk about it. Just a worse item now, slightly. Doran's Bow is worth talking a lot about. So if you've seen the new items, such as Doran's Bow and Doran's Helm, you might have seen what they did, but you didn't really understand what their purpose was. Like, why would I go this item? I don't really know what to make of these items, right? Because when you look at Doran's Bow, it gives AD, attack speed, and Omnivamp. It's like, okay, those are good stats, maybe on a marksman, right? But should you even buy this item? So let's just compare Doran's Bow to Doran's Blade really quickly. Doran's Blade gives, I think it gives 2 more AD, but the important part is Doran's Blade gives HP and Doran's Bow gives attack speed. And if you don't know, HP is a much better stat than attack speed, especially early game, because HP is just one of the best stats in the game, period. So you might be thinking, why would I ever build Doran's Bow then, if they're the same item, but HP is better than attack speed? And that's because, although Doran's Bow gives less stats, they're more offensive stats, right? Attack speed is useful for hitting an enemy, hitting a minion wave, doing whatever. So Doran's Bow is kind of the greedy option, where you can deal more damage, farm more resources, etc. And Doran's Blade is the safe option that gives you the most stats. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you might know that in League of Legends, early game is everything. It's very important. So what I would say, in my opinion, is Doran's Bow is basically just a bad item. I would not buy this item. I think Doran's Blade is just better than Doran's Bow in every way, except for some very specific situations, such as when you are in a very one-sided matchup. For example, if you're playing Yasuo mid lane, you're probably going to be winning early versus a mage no matter what, right? So you can go Doran's Bow because you don't need the HP. You're not at risk of losing the matchup. You can just go Doran's Bow, get some extra offensiveness because you don't really care about the defensiveness, right? So that's how I would say to buy Doran's Bow. Now, Doran's Helm is more interesting. I actually think this item is very good, and I actually think Doran's Helm might be secret OP, as in it might be getting nerfed soon, once people understand it better. Been seeing a lot of people say Doran's Helm is bad because you waste some of the stats when you buy it. For example, say you're versus an AP champion and you buy Doran's Helm. You're kind of wasting the armor because that champion is AP, you only really want the magic resist, right? And that is true. So they're right in saying that you are wasting the resist a bit, but I think even ignoring the fact that you're partially wasting one of the resists, this item is very good, because let's say we removed armor in this example, right? You're getting 100 health and 10 magic resist. Doran's Shield is a better item than Doran's Helmet, because it gives like 1 billion HP, and all Doran's Helm gives is a little bit of HP and a little bit of resist. But Doran's Helm isn't completely outmatched by Dorn's shield because some champions already have a lot of health. They don't care about getting even more health because they already have a lot of health in their kit. There's a bunch of examples. You've probably already thought of one when you heard me say that, but some examples include Yorick, he heals when he Qs. Same with Vladimir. Kayle heals with her W. Some champions just have high base HP regen, such as Katarina and Akali, and the list goes on and on. So Doran's Helm is a good item when your champion already has a lot of healing built into it. Because when you have resist, this armor and magic resist basically increases the value of every point of HP you have. So buying HP is good if you already have resist. And similarly, if you already have HP, it's good to buy resist. Now, why I think Doran's Helm is kind of broken is because after your first recall, you can buy, no matter which champion you're playing, you can buy one of the most broken items in the game, Refillable Potion. So then you're going to have a ton of HP and the resist from Doran's Helm. Now, I don't think Doran's Helm is going to be game-changing, although it might be, because it is a defensive item, right? But I think Doran's Helm is going to be very strong. It gives a lot of resist. Combined with the fact any champion can buy a Refillable Potion, you can basically just be very, very, very hard to kill, especially on champions where their weakness is kind of being easy to kill early game. For example, mages versus assassins, or even Kayle, right? It really depends. Obviously, this isn't like a Thanos item. You buy Doran's Helm and win the game. But I think it is a very powerful tool that will be very useful eventually once people start picking it. So, moving on, Dusk and Dawn. You can read this if you want to, but more or less, this is just, the item is about the same, but they're making it better for people that actually care about the AP and bonus HP. In other words, they're buying Dusk and Dawn for the actual stats, because this item gives health and AP, and then the new passive, I guess, rewards buying more AP and HP after this. Because some champions like Echo just buy the item for the empowered auto attack that procs on hit twice, and then they don't really care about the HP. So this is just less free stats for champions like that. But it will be more rewarding if you actually go Dusk and Dawn and items like that, like Riftmaker or whatever. And Endless Hunger just gives you more ability haste if you're melee now. Now here's the other new item, which is Gluttonous Greaves. These are the new boots. Now, when I first saw these boots, I thought they were bad, because I thought spending 900 gold on Omnivamp is kind of a waste of money. You don't really want to spend 900 gold on just Omnivamp, right? That's what I thought initially. But when you think about it, you're only spending 600 gold, so it's actually not that expensive. And if you think about it further, when you buy Omnivamp, you're basically just buying health, right? Because Omnivamp gives you health. You deal damage and get health. So these boots are basically just health boots. You don't even have to think about them as Omnivamp boots. They're basically just health boots, although slightly worse. So I would say these boots are good on some bruisers especially, and they will also be good on ADC's late game if they don't have built-in lifesteal already. That instead of having to build Bloodthirster or something to get a little bit of lifesteal, they can just sell these boots for these, right? Super late game. Now, this is the most useful part of these boots, which is what I thought at first. The tier 3 boots are very, very good. So mid laners will like these boots. I think these boots are very good mid lane, even when being compared to the other tier 3 boots. And the reason is because while above half health, it kind of sucks that you have to be above half health, you deal 5% increased damage. So the tier 3 Gluttonous Greaves are very good, because if you don't know this, healing 5% increased damage is very good, because this isn't get 5% AD or AP like Infernal Dragon gives, or however much it gives. It's literally just straight up 5% increased damage, which is very useful. For example, when a mage buys Rabadon's Death Cap, they don't just straight up deal 35% more damage. They're just getting 35% more AP, right? Which isn't that OP. But when you get 5% increased damage period, you're just upgrading your damage. It's very useful. This 5% increased damage thing, this also exists on like Liandry's or Riftmaker, those mask items. And it also exists on Hex Optics now for ADCs. So these items that increase damage by a percent number are just so good. Abyssal Mask too for supports. Those items are all very underrated, all very good. So Hubris, this item got changed. It doesn't really matter. Like, when you buy Hubris, you're just buying a lethality item. This item's not that broken, not that weak. It's whatever. They're just making it better to stack now. Opportunity got removed. This item was broken, so if you missed out on it, unlucky, you can't abuse it anymore. But this item, Staff of Flowing Water, you haven't missed out on. It still exists. This item is one of the best items in the entire game, Staff of Flowing Water. And I think the reason you don't see it that much is just because people don't play champions that build this item that much, such as Lux. And of course, a lot of enchanters could build this item. So when you read this item, it gives you, it used to give you 45 AP to 2 people, which is 90 AP, but now it gives you 40 AP and 15 ability haste for 6 seconds to 2 different people, and it also gives you 10 flat ability haste. Now, if you don't think that sounds broken, which you probably do think that sounds broken, remember that this item only costs 2,300 gold or something absurdly cheap like that. This is just one of the best items in the game, and they buffed it. So it just has to be broken now. You know what I'm saying? Staff Flowing Water has to be broken. If you want free wins, buy this item. Now, Static Shiv, this item's going to get hot fixed or something soon. This item's like just super gimmicky and janky. I don't know what's broken about this item, but if you wanted to like go to like YouTube Shorts or TikTok or something, I'm sure there's like a billion clips showing insane synergies with Static Shiv and champions. I've seen AP Zinzao, whatever. I'm sure this item's broken somehow. You just gotta find out how. But when you proc the lightning now, it procs on hit on every single person who got hit by the lightning, which just sounds really broken. So it probably is broken. I'm not even gonna like talk about that. Trailblazer removed, so who cares? So Voltaic Cyclosaur. This item is basically just Opportunity, which got removed if you remember. And if you remember, I said that Opportunity was broken. Now, this item is just Opportunity, but better. So this item is also going to be broken. Period. Voltaic Cyclosaur is broken. Alright, now on to more interesting stuff, like runes. So, Deathfire Touch. Is this rune good? The long answer is not really, because when you think about it, Deathfire Touch is basically Conquer for mages, right? But the thing about Conquer for mages is that Conquer is Conquer for mages. You can just already go Conquer on most of the mages. Talia, Brand, Swain, whatever there is. I guess Malzahar couldn't, so now he can go this, I guess. Does anyone even play Malzahar? But if you see what I'm saying, mages could already go Conquer. So I'm not sure what Riot was going for by adding Deathfire Touch, but I guess now you have like a new Conqueror to go. I don't know which one's better, but it probably just depends on the patch. You can either go Conquer or Deathfire Touch, whichever one is better on the patch. But one nice thing about Deathfire Touch is the 3-second burn. It keeps you in combat for like Riftmaker, Liandry's and stuff. It also procs Grievous Wounds and Cosmic Drive. So the burn is nice. That's about the only difference. This is literally just Conquer, but for mages, but mages already had Conquer. So, Phase Rush got removed for Storm Raider Surge. Storm Raider Surge, long story short, is just better Phase Rush. And I will explain why. It's kind of hard to explain. So, let's first of all look at just the numerical numericalness that it's better, if that makes sense. So Storm Raider Surge is 40% move speed buff and 75% for ranged champs. I'm assuming this is 75% of 40%, right? So this is already better because Phase Rush was only 50% for ranged champs. But now it's 75%. Okay, now let's look at the actual rune. So, Storm Raider Surge is just Phase Rush. It's the exact same thing, but it procs when you do 25% of a champion's max health compared to hitting them 3 times. Now, I can only speak out of my experience, but in my games, if you ever wanted to proc Phase Rush really hard, like you really needed to proc it, you were probably going to be dealing 25% of their max HP anyway, if that makes sense. So, for the sake of comparing them, I'm just going to act like they have the same activation cost, if that makes sense. Like, if you want to proc one, you could proc the other. So why is Storm Raider Surge better? Storm Raider Surge is better because it wastes less time in the movement speed buff. When you hit someone with 3 abilities with Phase Rush, you get the movement speed kind of early, because you hit them 3 times, and as the 3rd hit hits, you're getting the movement speed instantly, you can run away, chase them, do whatever. But if you're hitting someone with 3 abilities, then they still need to react to you using the abilities. You see what I'm saying? So you're kind of getting the movement speed buff early, even if it's just by a millisecond. But for Storm Raider Surge, you're getting the movement speed a little bit later, even if it's just by a millisecond. So you kind of get a longer movement speed buff because you're getting it when it matters more, aka when they turn around and look at you and be like, what the heck just did 25% of my max HP? And then another thing is Phase Rush is useful. Sorry, Phase Rush is worse in lane because Storm Raider Surge in lane is more manageable. You can control when you proc it much easier. For example, if you're playing mid lane and you're playing versus a melee champion that you need to poke out, such as Nasus or most melee mid laners, you want to hit them, but you also don't want to proc Phase Rush, because if you proc Phase Rush, then your Phase Rush will be down, even though they're not really chasing you, you're just trying to poke them, and then you're going to be susceptible to ganks or getting punished while Phase Rush is down. But with Storm Raider Surge, you don't have to do this awkward thing that you had to do with Phase Rush, where you hit them twice, and then be like, I guess I'll stop hitting them. I mean, I hit them twice, I can't hit them again, or it will proc my Phase Rush. So with Storm Raider Surge, you don't have to worry about that. With Storm Raider Surge, it just procs when you do 25% of their max HP. And if you do 25% of their max HP, then who cares if it procs? You just did 25% of their max HP. So hopefully that makes sense. My headphones just died. I'm not editing that out. I'm keeping that in. So Arcane Comet got buffed. This is just straight up a buff. It does 100% bonus damage based on distance. I don't know why they changed this, but they did. I think it's because they wanted it to be different from Deathfire Touch, but they just buffed Arcane Comet. That's just all they did. So that's a good change. Arcane Comet was already very good, and now it's even better. Hail of Blades, it's better, but I don't think it's going to be broken. It might be broken, but even if it is better, the champions that already built Hail of Blades will just keep going it. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. Your auto attacks just do bonus true damage. Whatever. It's just your auto attacks get empowered. Some champions benefit from the Hail of Blades autos, such as Pike Callista. Champions, especially champions with just low attack speed. Assassins like that. So hopefully you understood everything I said. This video dragged on kind of long and I was kind of all over the place because this is like my 6th take. Like, I don't even care anymore. I'm not going to lie. But I hope you learned something either way, and thanks for watching. And I got a new mic. Hopefully it sounded okay. And yeah, I hope you liked the video and learned something. And good luck in the next season. And like, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.